I feel really nervous because I actually didn't expect to get picked.
Oh, didn't you? That was really interesting because this morning I thought, I had a funny feeling. Yep.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So my challenge is that my business partner, beautiful Julie, who's in this group as well, is a source of trigger for me around her embodiment and growth of her own business, and what I perceive as gifts in the world. Like, to me, I perceive her as super solid in who she is and her service, and other people's perception of her service and her alignment in that. And I go through phases of being super fucking resentful and self-minimizing in the process of that. And it's challenging being in business in that.
Yeah. So tell me, Bridget, so thank you for being open to this experience. So tell me, what's the outcome then for you? What would you love to see and feel and experience at the end of our session today?
To see more of myself in that, so that I'm not so, because I can see it affecting our business, because if I'm in moments of self-minimization, like it's like that thing, like, if you're okay and you're grounded in who you are, then other people don't really trigger you, because if you're true to you, they can be true to them and you can both be amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're in moments of self-minimization and you see someone else who you perceive as shining, like, it's that whole salt to the wound thing. Yeah. So I can see that when I work on my own empowerment, that won't actually trigger me anymore. And I have experiences of that.
Okay.
But there's times it actually affects our business, because I'll be like, I can't even see that right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So let's get really clear then on what the specific trait, action or inaction is about Julie that you most admire in her. So what is she doing? What do you perceive her to be doing that you admire and look up to most?
This is why I should have prepared, but I was trying
That's
to be
okay.
on.
I mean, something that you said a number of times when you were sharing was about her service and her being, aligned with her solid with who she is, solid with her service, or aligned with her service and authentic with what she had to share.
I think I perceive her to be very deeply embodied in her truth, and in doing that lights up her service. Like,
Great. Yeah. So in terms of embodiment of her truth, what is she specifically doing that you then label as embodiment of her truth?
What do I specifically see her doing?
How about we do this? Go to a specific moment then where and when you perceive her to embody her truth.
Okay, I can go to a podcast we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
And so Julie's really good at being so super duper vulnerable, with her stories that she shares.
Yep.
And so there's one podcast that she did, which was brilliant, on her relationship.
Yep.
And the complete unfiltered truth of that.
Okay, so unfiltered truth. What is it specifically that she's doing? What's the specific trait, action or inaction that you perceive her to be doing? Because unfiltered truth, how is she demonstrating that?
Okay. Through her story of her relationship dynamics, or through her story of her intimacy.
Okay, so is that sharing information, or what specifically is she doing?
Yeah, she's sharing information.
Okay, and is that what you admire most with her? Is that she's sharing information, or is it something else?
No, that's not it. That's not the trait though. What is it? No, actually, I think it's her magnetism. I think it's the way that she, through her. Why are you shaking your head at me? Yeah, I think it's.
Okay, you say you think, so that's not necessary. So what I want you to do is because we have to define what it is first. We have to find out, well, what is she specifically doing? So rather than, you know, using an analogy or putting it into a label of what she does, what is she actually? How is she demonstrating this thing that you admire most?
How's she demonstrating it? This is the problem when there's clearly like so many traits.
Yeah, that's okay. And we just have to pick the biggest one, the one that's going to give you the greatest. So rather than reading the comments, let's just stay focused. So because I have to find out what you want, what the trigger is for you, and the charge is for you rather than for someone else. So yeah. So what is it specific though? Thank you to the individual who put a comment in there. So
yeah, I mean, it is the trigger is the success. The trigger is the
yeah, but that's the result of what she does. It's what's the specific trait, action or inaction. How does she create that success that you minimize yourself to, resent the most and look up to the most with her?
How does she create? I want to say authentic service.
Okay. What you perceive the most with Bridget.
Triggering though. It's not like the trigger though.
Okay, so go to a specific moment where you're really resentful of her and you're admiring something that she's actually doing. You're resentful within yourself, but admiring something that she's actually doing. That's sharing her gifts with the world, and that's, you know, she's really solid in who she is.
I'm trying to find the really big trigger. I'm sorry, this is so hard.
I know this is it's perfect. It's okay.
Come on, what is it?
So go, because in the beginning you got emotional and you cried when you thought of this, this thought of her, Bridget, of Julie being, you know, growing in her business and solid in who she was. So there has to be a moment of where you've resented yourself for doing or not doing something and admired her for her ability. So go to that moment.
Is it okay if the moment is equally a resentment of her, but by virtue of noticing that I'm resenting her, I'm actually resenting myself?
Yeah, so let's just unpack what that moment is and say, so if it's not an admired TAI, that's okay. So what specifically is she doing or not doing that you're resentful of?
I perceive that she's serving lots of women.
And what is it specifically? Yep.
And through my perception, I perceive that her able to do that means I can't do that. Like I make that mean.
And in that moment, are you admiring that she's serving lots of women? Or are you resentful that she's serving lots of women?
I'm admiring it, but it's entangled with resentment because of like where I
you are
self-minimize.
So welcome to psychology of what happens when you admire someone. You are instantly resenting yourself for not doing the thing that you admire, not being able to do it. Okay. And what is it specifically about her serving lots of people that you admire most? Is it just the serving of lots of women that you admire most, or is it something else?
It's the ability to be financially independent through that.
Okay, great. So tell me, where and when have you perceived yourself to serve lots of women and then be financially independent as a result?
I get stuck on the lot, and I get stuck on the independence because I can't equate them. Like I can't equate the perception of that with.
Okay, so where are you serving women? So is it the amount that she serves, or is it the women that she serves that you admire?
It's the amount.
Okay, great. So tell me a moment where and when you have actually served a lot of women.
I can see in my events I have.
Okay, great. Now let's go to an event. So rather than bunching them all together, I want you to go to a specific, I can't even say the word now, specific moments where you have served a lot of women in one event. So I want you to go back to that moment.
Yeah.
Get present. Where were you and when was it?
It was in Geelong, and it was a birth event.
So get present in that moment and experience that moment and have certainty in that moment that you were serving a lot of women, as in a lot of women and their children, and the girls that were going to turn into women.
Yeah.
So that's serving a lot of women beyond just that moment. Is that also serving in that moment the mothers of those women?
Yeah.
Because as you change the dynamic with one woman, you change the dynamic with all the women in the family.
Yeah.
Great. Tell me another moment. Go to another moment where and when you've served a lot of women at an event.
Brain's all mush. Trying to go to another event. Okay, I'm completely drawing blanks. Like I'm finding it really hard to even retrieve memories.
That's okay. with that one, are you certain that you are able to, with that moment that we just looked at before, are you certain that you're able to serve a lot of women in that topic of birth?
Yes.
You hesitate slightly, so what's the hesitation around?
It's more, I think, in the hesitation around birth, it's the depth of space that I hold. But I don't actually think that I want to hold the depth of space because it's not my area. Yeah, but on that topic, I'm definitely sure I can serve a lot of women because I've been in that topic a bit.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me another moment then where and when you've had the ability to serve a lot of women, whether it be, serving the one to the many, where you serve just one or a small group of people, but then they impact a lot of people. So
I know that the podcast that I did on my birth experience with Pearl served a lot of women.
Okay, so go to a specific moment where and when you saw the amount of people that your podcast on the birth of your daughter served.
I'm going to like cumulative, but I need to go to a moment.
Yeah, a moment where you reflected and went, what, like, whoa, that just served a lot of women.
Yeah, it was a moment when we did a Facebook post like of people's favorite episodes, and that came up a lot as a topic.
Okay, great. So go to that specific moment. Go to the moment that you saw the engagement with on Facebook, with that particular post, with that particular podcast.
Yeah.
And just get present with that moment and see all the women that read the post, listened to the podcast, and the impact that made on their birthing story or their life or their potential birth that was going to happen in the future that had not yet happened.
Yeah.
So feel the ripple effect of your story and your sharing and service. Of birth. Are you certain in that moment that it was serving a lot of women, either serving them now or serving them in the future?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Tell me another moment where and when. Where and when have you served a lot of women? Whether it be on social media, whether it be on a podcast or in the events that you used to run.
I can feel like my self-minimization like trying to block me now, even retrieving memories.
Okay, so I know because
feels like a strategy.
It is. But also you said something really interesting because you said that, so the first one was on birth. The first moment we found, which was really profound, was a birthing moment. And then you said, I'm not, but like birthing's not me, that's not my space. And then you, not led by me, but you found the second one of another birthing story. But then you say it's not you, but you went there. So I'm curious what's going on there.
I think it's because I say it's not me because I'm not the doula, I'm not the birth worker. But then I guess I am, but in a different way.
Mm.
It's just a different form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you love about the birthing story or the birthing experience?
Just just everything.
Because I've got goosebumps from head to toe when you talk about it.
Yeah. It's just so powerful.
Yeah. Why is it inspiring for you?
Because it's a moment of empowerment and sovereignty and bringing through life on your own terms, in my experience.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because you admire Julie for being able to offer a service to the world, that she's solid in who she is and she's, powerful in what she does. But when you talk about the birthing story for you, that's your space where you're empowered and you're powerful.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's holding you back from doing more of that space?
It doesn't feel like a career or like something I can.
According to whom? According to whom? So who are you now self-minimizing against, saying that you can't make a career out of that?
I think I look at the birth landscape and the David and Goliath kind of.
Oh, but everyone, like, I had a client last night on Monday night and they want to get into wellness, and they're like, well, but it's saturated in wellness. Well, no, if you're being authentic and you love your service, it doesn't matter what the market is doing, because authenticity is what magnetizes the market to you.
Mm.
So it's less, because what happens is we focus so much on the outer world of what we need to do, for our service, and we focus what the outer world wants, instead of going inward and going, hang on, what most inspires me, what lights me up the most, what makes me most empowered, and then go and do that. Because that's the thing that you admire most in Julie, is that she's authentic in herself. And that's what you're saying you also want in you as well, to be authentic, and then the market will open up to you. So out of curiosity, what's the benefit of doing birthing for you, if you were to go down that path?
I don't want to be a birth attendant. I want to raise it. I mean, for me, my work is to raise consciousness, like raise collective consciousness. And the benefit of that, that I perceive in birth, is the healing of women that happens when you can birth in an empowered way.
And how many women out there have not been able to have a empowering birthing story and would still like to heal that journey? Thousands?
Millions.
Okay, whoa, really? So there's really millions of people out there, millions of women out there whose stories could be healed through what you have to share with them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's what I have to share. I feel like if millions of people understood the landscape and the culture and the systemic disempowerment I believe
Yep.
that they are entering when they're not conscious of the way the system's organised. But if they were more cognizant or conscious of that, then they could have a more empowered experience.
Yeah. So what else is the benefit of stepping into a birthing and teaching or sharing birthing and healing people's birthing journeys?
Babies are born with less trauma. So it changes generational, changes the family imprint, changes that early bonding.
So I want you to get present then with your own children and how that's shifted and created a bond with your kids. And imagine being able to do and offer that service for other women who didn't even know that it was possible.
I feel like it could save families.
And would that be meaningful for you?
Yeah.
Is there anything more meaningful than that?
Nope.
What else is the benefit of you doing birthing and teaching people about birthing?
Women get reminded of the power of their bodies and get reconnected. I feel myself pushing against this work because it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, so I'm like, I don't want to stack benefits to that.
Okay, so tell me, okay, great. So tell me what the resistance is. Is the resistance out of fear because there's not a market in out there, or is it fear because genuinely that's not what you want to be about, or that you don't want to, like, what is it for you?
What can come up for me sometimes is I think about like that area of life, or even I think about teaching parenting, and I think, but like, what about when my kids are bigger and they don't really care about that? You know, like it's like I'm looking for longevity in whatever it is that I do.
Okay. And what's the downside in that? What's the drawback of trying to find something that you have longevity in?
That I try to make myself fit something that's no longer authentic.
Yep. Because then if it doesn't allow any room to grow, does it? Because it's like, well, you've chosen this and you stay in that forever.
Yeah.
And what's the drawback in that?
You become stagnant and kind of monotone, you know, like you're not alive in it.
And what's the drawback to your followers as well if you stay in one field and just that one field?
Well, they would move on if they're no longer in that phase, because I'm not taking them with me.
Yeah, say that again.
So I'm not taking them with me.
Say that again.
Because I'm not taking them with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the benefit?
So you just get to be who you are.
Yeah. And they follow that journey all the way, because if you stayed and stuck, like, and is it you? Like, if you look at your life, have you done these like evolutions of you know who you've been, you know, in your 20s and then 25s and then, you know, 30s?
Yeah.
Like, is it constantly evolving, or has it kind of been the same the whole way through?
it's constantly evolving, and that's like one of those things I've judged myself for, because I'm like, I can't pin my hat onto a thing, you know, like I can't say that I'm that.
Okay, I know, but that's when you're trying to put yourself into a box of one thing for the rest of your life, which I know a lot of people do. And so it's really about you going, hang on, what's my thing now? And then have the freedom and flexibility to allow that thing to also evolve and change, but just know what that thing is. And you know that thing by how you feel. You know, the thing that lights you up the most, the thing that makes you most inspired and emotional, or like, you know, emotional in that sense.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of evolving and changing your niche or changing your topics that you talk about?
Well, I can see that the more authentic, and I've seen this in my events. Like if I'm doing something I'm not that interested in, I just don't pull people in, because I'm not magnetizing them, because I don't really care about it.
Yeah.
But I try to be like balanced or like broad for the masses.
How's that going for you?
That. It's not going well. Doesn't go well for me.
Yeah. But at least you're aware of the fact that when you do something that you love doing, people show up. So if you had to have the top three things that you love talking about and that inspire you, light you up the most, what would they be?
The human behavior, parenting, birth.
All right. So
human behavior, essentially,
but it comes in the birthing and parenting, way. So then what's the benefit of you building a business that serves an ever greater number of people around birthing and parenting and human behavior?
It's the benefit of me building a business around
that serves an ever greater number of people.
The benefit to them or the benefit to me?
To you. Because the truth is, it's really about you. Like you want to serve other people, but you actually want to do it for you.
Well, the benefit to me is that it keeps me really current with where my family's at, and so I'm getting paid to be really present. I'm getting paid to be.
I want you to just get really connected with that. You get paid to be present with your family. You get paid to be. My motto is I make money while I mummy.
Yeah.
You get paid to be present with them and their journey of where they're at in their development. So when they get to teenagers, there'll be an emphasis on teenage, I assume anyway.
Yeah.
So how
I just had I had this big feeling of emotion about my mum, because I can see that's what she was trying to do by becoming a teacher.
But she had to go out to the world to teach other kids to learn about you.
I don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm. We either mimic our parents or we complete them. We either do what they've done.
Just a minute.
Or we go and complete that cycle and do it differently.
Yeah, I feel that. Because she said to me, she was always looking for a job that she could be do around us, and that would be keep her connected to us.
But then you get to do that in actually being connected with them, being at home, being able to work your business from home, and also being on their journey with them. Because as a school teacher, was she stuck in, did you get stuck in one level? Or does she work?
Yeah, and she said she doesn't reckon she breathed for 20 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because normally school teachers stay at a particular
Yeah, and
level.
stayed at a pay rate, obviously, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you feel now when you connect in with your niche or your areas that you can focus on? Does that feel authentically you? Because family is such a high value,
Mm.
and that you get to do the birthing, parenting, and wrap that all up in human behavior, which is what you love. Making a business around that, would that be inspiring? Would that be authentic? And would you be solid in who you are? Would you share your gifts with the world? And would your services be aligned with that?
Yeah.
So
I can see that I've been blocked in it because I felt like I couldn't, like, you know, that whole, like, I need to go outside of this to build my wealth, or I need to stick at something that I had longevity in to really build my wealth. But actually, that's not true.
that you can go inside to figure out your service and how to serve people. You go inside, and then the wealth is something, it's a byproduct of what you do.
Yeah.
Because if not,
aligns.
yeah, if not, you end up just doing what everyone else wants you to do and inject everyone else's perceptions rather than following the truth of what your soul and your purpose and what you're here to do.
Yeah. And then the devil on my shoulder goes, but what about like when you hate parenting and you want to escape your kids? but then actually that's purposeful. But then that's purposeful too, because then I've often felt like when I hit big edges, it's like, oh, I have to have this because this is actually, I need to know what this feels like in order to relate to who I'm teaching and who I'm coaching.
100%. And you don't want to set up a fantasy for your people that follow you and say, well, parenting's easy and effortless and you should just love it. That's not how it is. Parenting is difficult and challenging, and sometimes you want to throw in the towel. And the more real you are, the more people that you will attract.
Mm. Yeah.
So let's get Julie. Where's Julie? She is. So Julie. So Bridget, what would you love to say to Julie?
Thank you for all the ways you push my buttons. And I love you so much. I love you so much.
Are you guys ready to shine?
Yeah. Ready for you to see all of your life. Thank you.
So thank you, Julie. So thank you, Bridget, for your vulnerability and your openness and being raw with us today. So extremely grateful. So team, there's what I find interesting is, as an observer of a session or a dynamic, there's generally an insight in there for you, or a reflection in this for you. So I'm curious if anyone would like to share and go, whoa, that was, and share their insights or their realizations that they had from this experience.
Yeah, it's probably Mark here.
Hey, Mark.
Probably almost exactly a similar situation that I'm having at the moment with my business partner, Mr. Dewey. God bless him. And so I just was coming and literally just having this discussion yesterday, and I was in such resentment and hating and just fuck the world kind of positioning part of my language. And so then I come into this morning thinking it's going to be a hour of power, the normal session. I'm like, oh, it's a hot seat. All right, cool. And then it's like, oh, Bridget's up. All right, cool. And it's like, oh, she's resenting a business partner and it's holding her back. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So I was just kind of, just kind of closing my eyes and going along with the process around it. And I don't know if you went through all columns. If you did, it was very elegant. But just going along with it and kind of opened some stuff up in there myself around it. And I won't say I fully got to closure on it, but I certainly got a lot more further along the way than where I was yesterday. And for me to go, oh, okay, cool, right. It really is resentment, and we can really box ourselves down and keep ourselves so rigid that we actually lose all of our freedom and creativity to do the very thing that we wish we could do, right? Which is to get out into the world. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your vulnerability and openness and the whole thing.
Amazing. Thanks, Mark, for sharing. So who else would like to share? Julie shared that I love how we mimic or we complete our parents. And we do.
That drop in with your mom bridge was like next level.
I know, wasn't it?
I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, neither did I. And as I like understand the mother imprint and that ancestral line, I think far out, like so big. Can you share on that, Tanya? Like, can you expand on that more when you say like we mimic our parents or we complete them?
Yeah,
because you're right. Because sometimes people go completely opposite, and why is that then?
So that's the completion of the dynamics. So where human behavior is patterned and it's repeated. So we just do, and we grow up because of our mirror neurons and how we watch our parents, we do the same thing as what they do. So you can see that some kids, they grew up in a lower socioeconomic, who they had, you know, their parents had them when they were really young, then they do the same thing, or their parents were in an alcoholic, you know, abusive labeled relationship, and then they find themselves doing the same thing. And so we actually end up becoming our parents and we end up going, oh my God, I'm just like them. And then we can go to actually complete that cycle, or we end up keeping doing that cycle. And then the next generation does the same cycle over and over again until someone wakes up and goes, you know what, this isn't working anymore. And I'm ready to evolve and to grow. And then that's when they go and complete. And they go into a different cycle, not saying the next cycle is any better or worse. It's just a different cycle, but it doesn't have to be the same one that they've been doing.
What about the soul? What about the intersection between the soul and the animal? Like, because at some point, doesn't our soul kind of break through and go, like, I'm not going to choose that? Like,
not everyone in you can actually see it in today's society anyway. Not every soul, or you know, our transcendent mind or rational mind has the ability, or like not rational, like our prefrontal thinking has the ability to override our emotional side of ourselves. And so sometimes it can take people years and decades before they get to a point and go, oh my God, I don't have to be run by my emotions. And then some people never learn that. They can still be in their 70s and 80s and still really emotional and not realize how powerful their mind and their mind is. So not everyone will have a moment of, you know, connectedness with their soul, and some people will. I just think that sometimes in the personal development industry, we might think more people do have it. It's because we're surrounded by people who want to evolve, who want to develop themselves, who want to understand and know themselves.
It's interesting, Tanya, just a quick one. We've got 3 daughters, and as they were growing up, we kept any kind of weapons away from them because I don't believe in them. And now I've got a daughter that carries a gun every day in her career, and I've got another daughter that before Christmas will carry a gun every day in her career.
Wow.
And it's just so interesting to watch that dynamic change.
Yeah, because the very thing that you were about is the very thing that they are now. You also get to see that the other side it's okay too. Do you know, the very thing that you condemned is actually the very thing you have to end up loving, which is interesting. So thank you, Bridget. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts and your insights today. And thank you, Bridget, for your open sharing.
Julie just asked, how do you see what completion is? How do you see that someone's completing in terms of completion of like you either mimic or complete our parents? How do you track a completion like of a parent?
Well, if you have to ask the question, then it's not complete. So it's certainty comes with completion, that you're like, I'm certain it's changed. It's like 100% changed. I don't have any doubt in it. There's not a hesitation in it. That's when you know that it's complete. Also, when you don't think about it as well, because what happens when we complete something in our minds, we don't ruminate about it anymore. We don't think about it anymore. It just resolves itself and we move on to the next thing that we're now wanting to solve, the problem one. But as soon as a problem's solved, we don't keep on thinking about it anymore. We let it go. If you think about the problems that you used to have in your teen years, for example, are not the same problems. You've let them go and you're now on to bigger problems and bigger dynamics that you're trying to solve. So that's definitely one, is certainty. And then you also know that when you're put in, the best test for it is when you're put into a really stressful situation, because stress has a way of backtracking us into how we used to feel and how we used to also think as well. So the moment we do that, the moment we get in a stressful situation, we act differently than how we thought we would have normally acted in the past. That's also when we know that we've also completed that cycle as well, of that dynamic.
Thank you.
Amazing. So thank you everyone for coming and participating in the hot seat. I'd love to, if you still have extra learnings and realizations to share, feel free to do that. And if you're interested in also, then I know we've got a couple of people on who aren't part of the membership, but if you're interested in coming along to join the membership, then you are more than welcome to. I'll add a link below so that you'll be able to see that and join. It's free for the first month if you join the starter membership. So I'd love to see you on board to learn more about the questions that we've just asked. Because remember that it is also not about the questions that you ask, but the quality of answers that you also provide that help to change and transform your life. So thank you, team, and I will see you at the next perfect time.